And all right. Solo dolo mission, put it in perspective. It's your boy, Fabian Perspective, Raymundo. We doing this from Santo Domingo, or it says to Panama, but no Panama today. We're gonna skip the connecting flight straight from Santo Domingo to Miami to New York. You already know. But that's not the show. We're talking about the Nets. The Nets winning 6 in a row. This is big. I'm always saying that. This is big. It's crazy. It's a great game. I thought it was done in the middle of the early fourth quarter. I called it. It was over. But it wasn't. 112, 110. Most of the third quarter it was starting to be a blowout. You see there, James Harden 37 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Kyrie 28, Paul George 34, Kawhi Leonard 29. They're gonna talk about the end of the game. It was a big, I guess, an offensive foul. I don't know if they should have called it. I don't know what they really would have done, could have done. Harden with 2 big plays at the end of the game. He sold the flop, and he hit the 2 free throws at the end. I heard Mike Breen or somebody on the telecast saying that Harden might miss the free throw because there was 7 seconds left. I don't understand that. I'd rather you go for the 4 points, make it a 2 possession game, and end it right there. They might talk about the Kawhi Leonard play at the end. It ended up being a close game. Offensive rebounds by the Clippers. It was killing the Nets, and I'm not sure what other team could take advantage of the Nets in that way. But in the West Coast, you have the Jazz. I look at their stats. Goldberg could take advantage. They're well balanced. They could take advantage of the offensive rebounding. The Bucks really don't, and Philly might. But the Nets pulled through against those teams as well. If the Lakers have Anthony Davis, I can see that happening as well. But they pulled this one out. No Durant, so that I think that's a major reason for the offensive rebounding. You're missing some length there. 6'11". He's skinny as a toothpick, but it's still a body. A long body could grab rebounds. But it was a fun game. It was definitely a fun game. The Nets are 10-3 versus the Western Conference now. So we can't talk about they're just beating up on Eastern Conference teams because they play to anyone's level. And I'm not sure how the Clippers aren't missing anyone except Paul George at the end of the game. He was missing for the last couple of minutes. He walked off with I think it was 2 minutes left or a minute and a half left, and he was killing. He put the Clippers on his back. It was the playoff P that he was talking about. Again, he had a major. He missed 7 games because of a swelling in his toe, and I'm not sure if he re-aggravated whatever was going on there, but he was missing at the end of the game. Kawhi was trying to make up for it, but Paul George was hot. He had about, I think it was 2 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. Went to the line. He got DeAndre Jordan not in foul trouble, but he got DeAndre Jordan to foul him. He had some free throws. But Durant, we can keep talking about the offensive rebounds and the defense now, but the final score was 112-110. I mean, this is another team. They were averaging, the Nets are averaging defensively. They gave up 111 points the last 5 games. So this 110 is a point less than that. So around 110, 111 points they gave up in the last 6 games, and 5 of those being the Western Conference. These things you can't really, I joke around that I'm driving the bandwagon, but it's fun to watch it. It's fun to dissect it. As soon as when you start watching a team, you dissect them and you you look for certain things. Joey Harris, it looked like early in the first quarter, Kawhi was looking to shoot threes and get going. He wanted to score 30 points in the first quarter and make sure that the Clippers are on pace to score over the 110 mark, around the 120 mark, and then put more pressure on and be in the game versus the Nets. That's what it seemed like. And he seemed like he found something on the tape because he was deliberately just staying on the outside. And Joey Harris, they were playing him. They knew he was the third option. Durant's not there, so they were playing their defense towards him, keeping him off the 3-point line, and they got him off rhythm because then when he would start to shoot, he had a stretch there in the fourth. On the third, he had back-to-back threes, and it looked like it was over, early fourth quarter. So it looked like it was early. It was done early in the fourth for me after Joey Harris started getting going, Joey buckets. But like I said, Paul George came back. He brought him back. DeAndre Jordan, the Nets were trying to get him involved early on in the game, just a bunch of like pick and roll alley-oops to DeAndre Jordan, and to the point where they like Harden's throwing passes to the side of the backboard because it's not a part of their normal routine, and DeAndre Jordan's not used to jumping that many times and getting the ball on that many offensive possessions. So, and also it was DeAndre Jordan's that's his old team, so you figure they all know what it's like to play against your old team, you know, the superstars, specifically Kyrie, Harden, and Durant. You'll get him involved. You got to get him involved. You know, he's playing his old team. So I thought that was fun, but he had a play. He actually ended the game after the Kawhi offensive foul. There was a tip-in. DeAndre Jordan caught an offensive rebound and tip-in. So after all the offensive rebounds that the Nets kept on missing and allowing the Clippers to have, DeAndre Jordan ended the game with an offensive rebound, essentially, and stretching the score. But it was a good game. It was a pretty good game, pretty good ending. The first and fourth quarters were really good. The second and third quarters were getting lackluster. The things that stood out for me are the Nets' chemistry. They look. I just like the way they speak to each other. You know, when you saw every possession, at the end of every possession, they're talking to each other. Yo, you need to go over there. They're always pointing. It doesn't look like any one of them is getting mad. It doesn't seem like there's any ego involved. And I think anything in life is like that. Whatever kind of relationship you have with your friends or whoever, whether you're arguing, you know, you're trying to progress, you're trying to get to a certain point, and you all have that goal in mind and that point in mind, and you know that when your group, your teammates, and whoever's involved with you, if they able to communicate and you're able to let go of your ego, it just makes everything easy. There was a possession there where Brown got into it with Paul George. You can see Kyrie yelling from like across the paint during the break because Paul George is headed to the free throw line, and Kyrie's just looking at he's mouthing off at him, and he doesn't really even want a handshake. He's like letting him know, you know, Brown is my dude. You know, he's my young pup. So it was a good game, and I think those are the things that stood out today. Was the offensive rebounds the Nets gave up. I think the Clippers actually ended up they had 10 turnovers in the first half, and the Nets had 6. So that's what stood out to me in the first half. And the Clippers ended up with 16 turnovers, and the Nets had 6 turnovers. So, you know, I wish B was here to really get in talk about that. And the Nets are now 20-12. They're 1 game back from the 76ers. They just lost today to Toronto. Toronto's looking good. They're the one, to me, in the Eastern Conference. You know, Philly's there. I understand why everyone would say Philadelphia and Milwaukee, but I think Toronto they're the wild card because they're a trade away or a transaction away. Get Andre Drummond, you add DeMarcus Cousins. Little trades like that can make this interesting, and all of a sudden you have a real intense 7-game series, especially if you added DeMarcus Cousins, who had words for James Harden. He seems to be a real emotional dude. But also, I wanted to point out the money line and I guess the gambling stats before the game. And this is the second game in a row the Nets were considered underdogs because Durant was out. The Clippers seem to be at full strength. Hopefully, Paul George is all right. But the Nets were 185 on the money line, plus 185, and plus 5.5 on the spread. And the under would have been easy to take for this, or not easy, but it seemed justified to take if you would to take the under, because they're missing Durant, and the Nets defense has improved as of late. So it just seemed like a game where Sunday night, that can happen. But this is back-to-back games where the Nets are considered underdogs, and I don't know if Vegas is going that route anymore. They'll be home for Sacramento for the next game, but again, the Nets are 10-3. Versus the Western Conference, and they smacked Sacramento last game. So taking it back from Santo Domingo to Panama to Miami. Well, no Panama today. Be Mad is off on FMLA. Talk to y'all. Let me see. Brooklyn schedule. Next game, Sacramento, is on Tuesday, 7:30. So we'll have the pregame set up. Love y'all. Thanks for the love. Shout out. I'll repost this. This is Raymundo. Hold on a second. You know what I haven't done? I haven't posted all of our stuff there. PUTitNPERSPECtV.com is the blog. PUTitNPERSPECtV.com. Same thing with the at Twitter and the at and Instagram name. That's PUTitNPERSPECtV. So gotta plug that in. But we'll leave it here. Nets win big. Incredible. Till Tuesday.